Untouchable. That is the promise the United States Air Force made to Congress, to the American public, to every allied nation that spent billions purchasing the most advanced fighter jet ever built. Not just fast, not just powerful, not just loaded with the most sophisticated avionics in the history of aerial combat. Untouchable. The word that justified the $100 million price tag per aircraft. The word that justified the $1.7 trillion total program cost. The most expensive weapons program in the history of human civilization. Built around one core promise, one operational guarantee, one word. Untouchable. Iran proved it wrong. On March 16, 2026, an American F-35 Lightning II, the crown jewel of U.S. air power, was struck by Iranian fire over Iranian territory. It did not complete its mission. It made a hard emergency landing at an undisclosed American base somewhere in the Middle East. The pilot survived. The aircraft is currently sitting in a maintenance facility, being assessed for damage. The F-35 that was sold to the world as untouchable was touched. And the technology that touched it was not Iranian. It was Chinese. If that sentence just stopped you, good. Because what you are about to hear is not speculation. It is not analysis. It is the operational reality of this war that the Pentagon has not fully explained and the mainstream media has not fully told. Stay with this. Because the radar that found America's most advanced stealth fighter jet, the relationship between Beijing and Tehran that placed it there, and what a damaged F-35 sitting in a repair facility means for every mission flying over Iran right now, that is the story that untouchable and not untouchable enough together require. Before we go further, if this kind of deep, unfiltered military and geopolitical analysis is what you are here for, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. This channel covers what others skip, and this story is one you will not get anywhere else. The F-35 Lightning II is not simply a fighter jet, it is a doctrine. It is the physical embodiment of America's post-Cold War military philosophy. That technological superiority, specifically stealth superiority, renders American air power functionally immune to adversary air defense systems. The Joint Strike Fighter program that produced the F-35 was launched in the 1990s. It ran for 3 decades. It produced 3 variants, one for the Air Force, one for the Navy, one for the Marine Corps. It replaced multiple legacy aircraft simultaneously. It incorporated 5th-generation stealth technology, advanced sensor fusion, electronic warfare capability, and the specific combination of air-to-air and air-to-ground performance that previously required multiple specialized platforms. The stealth is the core. The F-35's airframe geometry, the specific angular design of every surface, is engineered to deflect radar waves rather than return them to the source. The internal weapons bays eliminate the radar signature that external munitions would produce. The radar-absorbent materials covering the aircraft's surfaces further reduce its radar cross-section. The engineering goal is a radar signature approximately equivalent to a metal golf ball. A golf ball. That is what a $100 million aircraft is supposed to look like on enemy radar. Against conventional high-frequency radar systems, the kind that the majority of the world's air defense networks operate, the F-35 is effectively invisible. The high-frequency bands that conventional radar engineers optimized for tracking aircraft are the exact bands that the F-35's stealth geometry was designed to defeat. The vulnerability has always existed. The F-35 is less invisible, measurably, significantly less invisible, against low-frequency radar, specifically UHF and VHF band radar systems. The longer wavelengths of these lower frequency bands interact differently with stealth aircraft surfaces. They produce resonance effects. The radar cross-section increases. The golf ball becomes detectable. The US military knew this. Defense engineers knew this. The intelligence community knew this. What they did not fully account for was China designing a mobile, deployable, combat-ready counter-stealth system specifically built around that vulnerability and placing it in Iran's hands before this war began. The system is called the YLC-8B, and its upgraded variant, the YLC-8E. Manufactured by CETC, China Electronics Technology Group Corporation, China's primary state-owned defense electronics manufacturer. The YLC-8 series is a 3-dimensional UHF band surveillance radar, mobile, truck-mounted, repositionable between engagements. Designed specifically, not accidentally, not incidentally, specifically, to detect low observable stealth aircraft. CETC's own documentation markets the system as counter-stealth. That is the name China gave it, counter-stealth. The name that tells you everything about what it was built to do and who it was built to target. The YLC-8 operates in the UHF band for one precise reason. Chinese radar engineers understood that UHF wavelengths are closer in scale to the physical dimensions of stealth aircraft surfaces. That proximity produces the resonance effects that increase radar cross-section despite stealth shaping. The physics that stealth geometry cannot fully defeat at lower frequencies. China built a radar system specifically designed to exploit that physics, and Iran had it. Not during the war, before it. The transfer happened before February 28, 2026, before the first U.S.-Israeli strike, before the war that was supposed to be over in 4 to 6 weeks began. While America was assembling the most expensive military campaign in a generation around an aircraft whose untouchability was the operational foundation, China had already placed the answer to that untouchability inside Iran's air defense network. That is not a coincidence. That is preparation. The YLC-8's mobility makes it more dangerous than a fixed system. After each engagement, it can be repositioned. The same aircraft that might otherwise destroy a fixed radar installation cannot easily target a system that moves. The radar that found the F-35 on March 16th was not in the same location it occupied the day before. It will not be in that location tomorrow. It moves, it hides, it waits, and then it finds the aircraft that was never supposed to be findable. Iran had been studying American air operations for 38 days before the F-35 was struck. 38 days of American and Israeli aircraft entering Iranian airspace on strike missions. 38 days of the YLC-8 network tracking flight paths, entry angles, mission profiles, and the specific patterns that American aviation doctrine produces when it repeats operations over the same territory. 38 days of Iranian air defense building the operational intelligence that allows a fire control solution to be developed before the missile is fired. The F-35 on March 16th was not the first American aircraft to fly over Iran. It was the aircraft that flew on the day Iran had gathered enough information to act on. The engagement sequence works like this. The YLC-8 detects the F-35 at range, not perfectly, not with the precision that conventional high-frequency fire control radar achieves, but well enough to establish a tracking solution. The tracking data feeds into the broader Iranian air defense engagement chain. The missile system that receives the tracking solution does not need to independently detect the F-35. It needs the coordinates, the vector, the moment. The YLC-8 provided all three. The missile reached the F-35. What happened in that cockpit on March 16th is classified. What systems were hit, what the pilot experienced, what emergency procedures were executed. The Pentagon is not releasing that information. What is known publicly is a specific and telling sequence of facts. The aircraft did not complete its mission. It made an emergency landing. The landing was described as hard, the kind of landing that suggests control systems or landing gear were compromised by damage, not the kind of landing a fully functional aircraft makes. The pilot was reported in stable condition. The aircraft is in a maintenance facility. United States Central Command confirmed the emergency landing. CENTCOM said the aircraft landed safely, a characterization that the description of a hard landing and the ongoing damage assessment complicate. CENTCOM did not confirm that Iranian fire struck the aircraft. Iran confirmed it. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps stated it engaged and struck an American F-35 conducting operations over Iranian territory on March 16th. The IRGC described the engagement as a demonstration that Iran's air defense, despite 38 days of sustained American and Israeli strikes, retained the capability to engage fifth-generation stealth aircraft. 4 facts define this event. Iranian radar found the F-35. An Iranian missile hit it. The American pilot survived. The American aircraft is in a repair facility. CENTCOM confirmed one of those 4 facts. The other 3 are confirmed by Iran and by the specific absence of an American denial that would exist if they were false. The Pentagon has not said Iranian fire did not hit the aircraft. That absence is its own statement. The geopolitical dimension of this event is where the story becomes something larger than one aircraft and one emergency landing. China has maintained official neutrality throughout this conflict. Beijing has not sent troops. China has not supplied Iran with missiles or drones since the war began on February 28th. China has been publicly calling for diplomatic resolution, promoting ceasefire frameworks through the United Nations Security Council, and urging de-escalation through every official diplomatic channel available. And China's radar found the F-35. The official neutrality and the operational radar exist simultaneously. Both are true at the same time. China's public position, peace, diplomacy, restraint, and China's pre-conflict provision of the specific counter-stealth technology that found and damaged America's most advanced fighter jet are not the same thing. The radar does not care about the official position. The radar functions. The radar found the aircraft. The aircraft made a hard landing. British defense intelligence had already assessed that Russia provided Iran with intelligence and training before this war began. The hidden Russian hand in Iran's war capability was a British intelligence assessment, an analysis, an estimate. The Chinese YLC-8 is not an assessment. It is a radar that produced a fire control solution that damaged the most advanced American aircraft currently in service. The difference between a Russian intelligence assessment and a Chinese radar that physically detected an F-35 is the difference between suspicion and evidence. China built the system. China transferred it before the war. Iran used it in combat. The F-35 is in a repair facility. The implications for the Israeli Air Force are direct and immediate. Israel's primary strike platform throughout this conflict has been the F-35I Adir, the Israeli variant of the F-35. Israeli Adirs have been conducting the deep strike missions that form the operational core of Israel's campaign. Nuclear infrastructure, weapons manufacturing facilities, hardened targets deep inside Iranian territory that non-stealth aircraft could not reach. The F-35 stealth has been the specific capability enabling those missions. The YLC-8 that found an American F-35 on March 16th is the same system that Israeli F-35Is have been flying over since this conflict began. The detection that damaged one F-35 demonstrated operationally that the YLC-8 can find F-35s. Israeli aircraft, American aircraft. Any F-35 over Iranian territory is now flying over air defense that has already proven it can find that aircraft. The missions have continued. The YLC-8 is still operating. The stealth is less untouchable than it was before March 16th. The financial weight of what happened over Iran on March 16th requires a specific number: $1.7 trillion. That is the total life cycle cost of the F-35 program across all three variants and all international partner nations. The highest single program cost in the history of weapons acquisition. The investment whose entire justification was the stealth capability, the untouchability that the YLC-8 has, operationally challenged. One aircraft damaged, one hard landing, one repair facility assessment, against $1.7 trillion of program justification. The damage to the F-35 program's credibility is not equivalent to one aircraft, because the one aircraft was not damaged by random chance or mechanical failure or weather. It was damaged by a specific counter-stealth system that China designed, manufactured, transferred, and that Iran deployed. The existence of that system, now confirmed in combat conditions, changes the planning assumption for every F-35 operating over any territory where the YLC-8 or a similar Chinese counter-stealth system has been deployed. Not just Iran, every territory. The Pentagon's response will not be to retire the F-35. The aircraft's stealth remains highly effective against conventional, high-frequency radar systems that the vast majority of adversary air defense networks use. The YLC-8 requires specific conditions: proximity, favorable geometry, and the operational intelligence that 38 days of conflict gave Iran. It is not a universal F-35 killer, but it is a demonstrated F-35 finder. In combat, over a real country, against a real pilot, with a real damaged aircraft as the evidence. The B-21 Raider, America's next-generation stealth bomber currently in early production, is being designed with every combat lesson that American stealth aircraft have encountered incorporated into its signature management. The F-35's March 16th encounter with the YLC-8 is now one of those lessons. Written in $100 million of aircraft damage and a hard landing at an undisclosed base. The lesson that the word untouchable carries a specific and measurable limit over Iran, where Chinese radar is inside the air defense network, and Iranian operators have 38 days of American flight pattern intelligence feeding their engagement calculations. Iran's supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei, who took power after his father Ali Khamenei was assassinated at the opening of this conflict, stated this week that Iran's forces will not be deterred by the assassination of commanders. Iran has lost dozens of senior military and intelligence figures to Israeli strikes: its top intelligence general, its Quds Force Special Operations commander. Its nuclear infrastructure has been systematically degraded. Its petrochemical exports have been devastated. The South Pars complex that accounted for 85% of Iran's petrochemical revenue has been struck. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed, and Iran's air defense found an F-35. In a war where Iran has lost nearly everything that can be destroyed from the air, its commanders, its facilities, its revenue streams, the damaged F-35 in a repair facility is the one thing that happened in this conflict that America cannot fully explain away and Iran cannot stop repeating. The word untouchable was America's word. The YLC-8 was China's answer. The hard landing on March 16th was the moment those two things met over Iranian territory and produced the specific evidence that neither a $1.7 trillion program cost nor an official Chinese neutrality statement can fully address. Untouchable. The United States Air Force still uses that word. It still appears in program documentation. It still justifies the budget requests that go to Congress every year. It still anchors the operational doctrine of every Allied Air Force that flies the F-35 platform. But somewhere at an undisclosed American base in the Middle East, there is a maintenance facility. Inside that facility, there is an F-35, the most advanced fighter aircraft in the history of human aviation. The aircraft at $100 million per unit and a $0.7 trillion total investment was supposed to make immune to the air defense systems of every adversary it would face. It made a hard landing. The radar that found it was built in China. The hands that operated it were Iranian. The pilot survived. The aircraft did not fly the mission it was sent to fly. Untouchable. On March 16, 2026, over Iran, with Chinese counter-stealth radar in the air defense network and 38 days of American flight pattern data in the targeting calculation, untouchable was not the word that described what happened. The $100 million stealth jet was never untouchable enough. And the country that made sure of that, before the first bomb fell, before the first strike, before February 28th, was not Iran.